My name is Melissa Fry, author, editor, course creator, and lover of stories. Today, I wanted to talk about how to work with an editor. I think some people might be scared of reaching out or finding out what even editors do or how they can help. But trust me, we are a nice bunch and we're not going to bite your heads off. So we just want to communicate with you really well, find out about your book, and make sure that we're a good fit for you. So I wanted to give you some quick tips on how to work with an editor and what you can do beforehand, before your book even gets to the editor, to make the process seamless and smooth. First thing, do your own edits first. Go through the manuscript and do what you can with it. A lot of times, if you're decent at developmental editing or building the plot structure and the character arcs, you may not need a developmental editor. You actually probably just need a content or copy editor, or maybe even a proofreader, depending on your level of skill. So if you do the edits yourself, you might be able to catch a sentence that doesn't quite read very smoothly, and you can reword it and rework it. If you read back through it and you catch that you have some plot holes or there's a conversation that doesn't quite make sense, you'll be able to catch that stuff before it gets to the editor. The second thing is to get some feedback before you send it to an editor. Typically, you write the first draft, you do the edits yourself. In that process, you can hopefully find a critique partner, somebody to read through it and give you some feedback, usually around the first draft if you finished it or you're in the middle of edits yourself. Usually when you run through your own edits, then you get it to beta readers and they can give you some more feedback, but you really want to get some other eyes on it, because yes, it's great to have an editor's eyes on it, but a lot of times they're looking for specifics and they may not be able to find all of the little nuances that someone who is more trained to be a reader would find. So just make sure you find someone that can get their eyes on it. The next thing is to do your research. So there are a lot of components involved here, and this is probably why it can be so overwhelming. There's a lot of things that you should know though, and a lot of things you should look for. So let's run through those really quickly. First, you need to know what kind of editing you will need. Like I said, you may need a developmental editor, or you may need content or copy editing, or maybe a proofreader, or maybe you need all three. Some people do actually do that when they have the funds and they're able to do it and they don't feel like they're very strong in any of those categories. They'll send it to a developmental editor, and then they'll send it to a content and or copy editor, and then maybe even a proofreader if that's not part of the copy editing process. So the important thing here is to just be honest with yourself and be honest about what your manuscript actually needs. Number two is to find out how much the editor actually charges. So a lot of times they'll charge by the word. Some people will charge by the page, or I don't see that one as often, but some people will also charge by the hour. Typically editors though will charge by the word, but it is important to know how much they're going to charge up front. Ideally, you would find an editor that gives you a contract. This is really important to cover both of you. Number three, as part of their fee, you want to know what's included. Are they a developmental editor? If so, how many times do they go through your document? Do they give you a write-up? Are they going to do kind of a critique for you? Will they rewrite some things for you or not? If they're a content or copy editor, what kind of things do they look for? How detailed do they get? Do they offer suggestions and rewrites, or do they just give you a suggestion and have you rewrite it? All of those are fine, but you really need to get a concept of how much is included and where your manuscript will be when they're completed with it. Some editors will actually have the completed manuscript for you and you just have to format it and then it's ready to publish. That's typically the type of editing that I do. I include content and copy editing for the first pass through, and then the second pass through I actually do a proofread. A lot of times editors will do that, so just make sure you know. Number four, ask what their timeline is for the project. If you have a contract, which you definitely should, you'll have a timeline and you'll have a deadline. And that will help you plan, it will help the editor plan, and sometimes they want your feedback during the process. So make sure you communicate when you're available if the editor does need your feedback, so that you can have a collaborative experience and to ensure that everything will be done by the deadline to your satisfaction. Number five, you want to know what their experience is, maybe ask for testimonials. Another kind of way to do this, especially when editors are starting out, and this is kind of how I started out, they will edit a sample for you. I actually still do this because I feel like it's important that an author kind of vets me and understands the way that I edit and I go through their document. And if they're not happy with it, I don't want them to commit to a huge project and then not be happy. So that's why I do the sample edit. But I also give them a chance to see what I do and how I can help them. And there's a ton more involved. So I actually created a mini ebook called 10 Questions Every Author Should Ask a Prospective Editor. And I created that so that you can read through what those questions are, how to vet an editor, how to know if your book is ready for publication, and I even put in there like what answers you're looking to for the question so that you can properly vet your editor and get all the answers you need before you actually commit to it. As a reminder, when you get your work back from the editor, you probably will have to format it. A lot of editors do not include that service. You could also hire a formatter too, but that will come after the editing process is done. That's kind of the last thing before you actually get it ready to publish, usually in the self-publishing world. So I put a link to the free ebook below. It should hopefully be really helpful for you. You can go through that, ask me any questions that you might have, because I love to help. That's why I'm here. Bottom line, the editing process does not have to be stressful. That's why I created the book and why I created this video, so that you can easily walk through the process and know how to get your book edited without having to like go crazy and have all these crazy stressful things going on in your head. It's really not that hard. So if you have any questions, please reach out. So if anything in this video resonated with you or you have any questions on it, please leave a comment below. Please subscribe to my channel. I've been doing videos every Friday all about writing, editing, publishing, how to help you get your work out into the world and make it the best it can be. Okay, my name is Melissa Fry, author, editor, course creator, and lover of stories. And yeah, that last one, a grammar nerd. All right, I'll see you later. Bye.